Yeah, well.
That's the way it goes. Oh, well. Welcome, boys and girls, children of all ages, to another exciting episode of Under the Dome. We are now in an 8-game winning streak. And remember, we said at the beginning of the year, the difference in the 2017 season compared to the 2016 through 2014 seasons, we had an 8-game winning streak. When we looked at the schedule from the beginning, and Sean and I went through this whole thing, and we kept saying over and over again, I just don't see where that 8-game winning streak is going to come from. And we look at the news each quarter. We have to be no worse than 3-1 at each quarter. Well, guess what? We're in the middle of that tough stretch. There's our 8-game winning streak. We're about to make it 9 games against the Philadelphia Eagles this week, who we just found out lost their best cornerback with ACL. And they don't look nearly as dominant as they did, as we thought they would look in the beginning of the season. So it looks like we could very well do 9 games, but we're going to talk about the dangers of yet another trap game. So let me welcome my partner here, who has escaped from the cold in a on location, secret location, a bunker somewhere. Sean, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. I'm in an undisclosed bunker. All the noise that I've been making on social media in the past 24 hours about the Los Angeles Rams, they've put out a price on my head through Al Qaeda or something. I don't know. But in all seriousness, no. I'm not anything if I'm not upfront and honest. And I got an axe to. Before I get to my axe, thank Fan First Productions for sponsoring us. Invite you guys to go subscribe to our show on iTunes and on YouTube. Now my axe to grind. Can't. Oh my lord! I got to get this. The NFL. Uh, you know, it it benefits the National Football League for their their organization in the Los Angeles area to thrive and to succeed. I get that. It it makes the league look better. There's more money to be made in the Los Angeles area. I get that. More than that, you know, the people of the state of Louisiana and the people of New Orleans, we have an economy too. An economy that benefits greatly from the New Orleans Saints in one way or another. Uh, the decision that came down today, the game in Mexico City is going to be moved, and the Los Angeles Rams are going to have another home game. Okay. Uh, I call BS on this. This is not about player safety. The catchphrase of the day. This is about Patrick Mahomes and Todd Gurley risking injury and possibly uh, sidetracking their MVP season as it is. You know, not to totally disavow the 39-year-old quarterback that is throwing 88% completions and has a touchdown interception ratio of 21-1. He doesn't deserve to be the MVP. Uh, uh, Never mind the fact that he's now number 2 all time on the uh, the the record books of touchdown passes. He's number 1 all time in passing yardage. He doesn't need to be MVP. He doesn't deserve it. But today they're going to move the game to Los Angeles because it risks the players' safety. Okay, my question is this: Did the am I just mistake? Did the NFL, did the Los Angeles Rams, did the establishment, such as it is, not know that there is going to be a football game in Mexico City on this date between these two teams? Did, you know, other teams don't get the opportunity to bitch about the fact that they have to play on what may be considered a dangerous playing surface. I've seen them play in London in a monsoon. I've seen them play in Chicago when the fog was so thick that you couldn't see from the quarterback to the receiver he was trying to throw to. I know you remember that game.
Mm-hmm.
People don't. They're not allowed to complain about that. They're not allowed to complain that teams have to play on Thursday nights after playing on Sunday on a short week. But this is the Rams, and we have to protect them, and we have to put them in an advantageous position. Hey, I'll be the first one to tell you guys I'm petty, but don't mess with my team. Every sports talk show that you turn on this week, everyone cannot help themselves but talk about how the Rams lead the Saints in home field advantage, in the rush for home field advantage in the playoffs. We beat the Rams. Yes, they have one more win. It's called a bye week. We have had ours. They have not. We beat them, so how are they in front of us? I'm giving myself a migraine. And complaining about it just makes us look like homers and all that. So I'm done with it. Like I said, it's complete BS. There's a lot more money to be made for the Super Rams to play in the Super Bowl than it is for the New Orleans. But hey, keep ignoring us. Keep discounting everything that we do collectively and individually as a team. It's all good. We'll see you in February. I'm going to stop before I curse.
Well, here's the thing, and the big thing is it's a crappy field. They're trying to. The NFL is trying to expand into London, and they're trying to expand into Mexico City. So that's the purpose of these games. And as long as uh, they're going to do these things or try and push this expansion, they're going to keep scheduling these games out of the country. Now, my understanding is this field fell apart after a concert. So I don't know. I don't know all the details behind it. All I heard was that it was just in terrible shape. It was unsafe condition. The last time I dealt with something like this was in the old Astrodome where they canceled the game between, I think it was the Oilers and the Browns. But other than that, I mean, it is what it is. Whether it was the Rams and the Chiefs or if it would have been, I don't know, some crappy team like the Jacksonville Jaguars against the Browns, they still would have canceled the game based on the field conditions because this is not an NFL field; it's a soccer field.
But I mean, still, did we not know in April that this weekend, this date?
Yes, they knew, but you're talking about a stadium that schedules all kinds of events, and the NFL just assumed, like Wembley Stadium, they would take care of their own field, but they don't. You're talking about Mexico, and
Oh,
I'm not,
wait. Let's not.
I'm not going to go into, making a Trump kind of statement. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is you're talking about a country that doesn't have a football team. They don't care. Soccer's not being played right now, so if the field goes to hell, they'll clean it up eventually, but it's not going to be ready for an NFL game after this. And they didn't care. All they wanted was the money. So, this is I blame the NFL for not considering this could possibly happen. And I wouldn't be surprised if Mexico wasn't expecting the NFL to pay to upgrade the field. I wouldn't be surprised by that because that's the kind of thing you're talking about. So, if you want to throw the shade on somebody, someone says, throw shade on both the NFL and the organizers in Mexico because that's really going on there. They didn't care what happened to that field because they figured the NFL's got plenty of money. Let the Americans pay for it. So
Someone asked me today. They said, "Have you ever considered what it would be like for the Saints to win back-to-back Super Bowls?" I said, "Actually, I have." And the day following the second Super Bowl, the NFL officially disbands. Roger Goodell reveals himself as the Antichrist, and Armageddon ensues. But anyway, I digress. Such a close game Sunday, and then we kicked off.
Like I said, the turning point in that ball game was that offside. I mean, false start on that punt.
Yeah.
It's there. I have to say this too. Let me just say this from the outset. I want to thank personally. I want to thank Marvin Lewis, the head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals, for taking out Joe Mixon to start playing Bernard because they want to get Bernard in shape after his knee. Because we were having a hard time stopping Mixon. And he goes to take Mixon out. And once he took Mixon out, that was it. That was the end of their running game. And I'm like,
okay, I have an unsung hero as well. I think that we need to see about possibly getting. Of course, by now he's probably unemployed, but the two security guys. Now, I first heard of this by Zach Streif during the broadcast, which he prefaced by saying, "I'm going to get yelled at and screamed at for telling this," but security at the Bengals stadium. So they're getting ready to go out the tunnel to do pregame, and security guy walks over and sees Sean Payton, and he says, "You're not wearing your credentials." And Peyton, thinking it's some sort of joke, kind of laughs and continues on. Another security guy comes over and says, "If you step foot on that field, we will have you removed from the stadium." Okay. Now, I heard more about this than I did the fire alarm. But thank you to the security force inside the Cincinnati Bengals stadium for putting our coach in the proper mindset to face you guys. And as I'm hearing this, I'm thinking, boy, is there anything that Philadelphia can do to piss off Sean Payton before we come out the tunnel in New Orleans? But I mean, if you think about it, how many times in the 12
years.
In the 12 years that Sean Payton's been here, how many times has he run up 50 points on anybody? 3?
He's done it a few times.
Right off the top of my head, I can think of, as you and I talked about before we went on air, the Indianapolis game, which
2011,
yeah, you're playing tackling dummies. What are you supposed to do? And this past Sunday, I'm going to ask you honestly, were you even aware that we had a Washington at running back? Because I was not.
Yeah, I do. I do because he actually played a little bit in week 4 against the Giants. He played a couple of times in that game. They brought him in after the Atlanta game, I want to say, or maybe it was the week of the Atlanta game. They brought him in as a running back. And yeah, I knew about him, but he only had a couple carries in that game, but he already looked a hell of a lot better than who was the guy everybody was in love with at the beginning of the season because of the preseason he had.
Jonathan Williams.
Jonathan Williams. That was the guy I thought was so good. And he basically replaced Jonathan Williams because Jonathan Williams, I remember hearing about Williams from the Broncos. This is what the Broncos beat right ahead to say about Jonathan Williams. If you need a yard, he'll get you a yard. If you need 3 yards, he'll get you a yard. And that's pretty much what he showed with the Saints. I think they let Williams go, and they brought that guy Washington in. But I think he's been mostly inactive. Hey, that's good. It's like the guy we had last year in the Buffalo game. Came out, finished the game off, and that was a good thing. So,
well, I'm sitting there watching, and they bring in a guy named Washington, and I'm like, oh, great. They're just picking people out of the stands now.
No, but I had actually heard of him. So, but hey, Kirkwood had a good game. He caught 2 great passes. The Cincinnati game was one of those games where everything was working for us, and it's what I expected in that game. I really did. I expected the score go 9 for 9 scoring drives every time we touched the ball. I didn't expect to score, but I was very happy that Marcus Williams got that interception. That was important. And I was also very happy that Eli Apple got that interception because, yes, it was off of a tip ball, but, it's important from a confidence standpoint that he gets the tip throw interception because that's the kind of stuff that we got last year. So there's been a downside so far to this defense is we're not getting the turnovers like we should. And we're starting to get them now. We got 1 against the Rams. We got 2 against the Vikings. And we got 2 against the Bengals. So it's starting to come in bunches now. And if we can keep this going, because now we're +2 in the season. If we can keep this going, get a couple against the Eagles, get 3 or 4 against the Falcons, just keep rolling this thing. That makes your defense so much better. It doesn't matter how much yardage you give up. If you're getting the turnovers and giving Breeze more possessions, that's what's important. That's how we won in 2009, and that's why we didn't win in 2011, in 2013, and 2017. We have to keep winning the turnover battle.
Well, I'll put this before you, and I say this to some people, and they look at me like I'm nuts, but I think that we learned more about this New Orleans Saints team in the Cincinnati game than we did the Los Angeles Rams game. And allow me to explain that. I think that against the Rams, you had to rise to the occasion and meet the challenge of a very good football team. That's what you're supposed to do. It would have been really easy to go into Cincinnati. And let's be honest. Cincinnati was a crippled, shorthanded, really bad team. It would have been easy for the Saints to roll into town, squeak out a 6-point, 10-point victory, and, just kind of phone it in. But no, they kept work. And while I'm at it, I want to my game ball of all the performances Sunday that stood out, what stood out to me the most was that of left tackle reserve
Mm-hmm.
Jermon Bushrod.
Yep.
Uh, to have gone through what the guy has gone through recently, and to have gone out there in relief of Teron Armstead, who went out with injury, and to have filled in the way that he did. Um, I don't even have the words, man. It was just awe inspiring. Our hearts, thoughts, and prayers still go out to Jermon Bushrod and his family.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, it would have been real easy for these guys to just kind of sleptwalk their way,
Sleepwalk.
their way through this game, and just kind of focused on Philadelphia. But that wasn't the case, because you saw these guys. Of course, the fact that they pissed off Peyton to begin with. So I don't think that was ever an option. But the fact that they went out there and they worked, they did what they were supposed to do.
Yep.
They finished the plays like they were supposed to. They got the turnovers like they were supposed to. Drew threw for touchdowns and didn't turn the ball over like he was supposed to. I think that we saw a lot more in how they handled a subpar team on the road in in cold conditions. Because, I mean, Drew Brees can't win on the road and they can't play in the cold. We've heard that for years. Wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Make no. I considered myself a scout because I watched the Cowboys and the Eagles play Sunday night and made my notes. I don't know who I'm going to pass those notes on to, but anyway, the Eagles suddenly look very beatable. They are not, in my opinion, they're not nearly the team that they were a year ago. Dallas has a talented defensive front, but I don't think that they're as good as New Orleans defensive front. And they harassed Carson Wentz all night long. Philly has had to deal with some injuries up front, and probably the most notable of all the talking points going into this game on Sunday is the fact that really talented secondary that the Eagles fielded a year ago, Malcolm Jenkins is the only secondary starter that remains upright and active for this game Sunday. So, it's all about timing in this league. The Philadelphia Eagles are the defending Super Bowl champions, but they're in a vulnerable position right now, and we have to take it.
They are, and you have to slam the door on the Eagles. Once again, that's another team that you have to strangle the life out of them early and often. I mean, just like you did with the Bengals. You came out against the Bengals, you scored in your first possession. They score. You come back, score again. So you put the pressure on them. They're going to go for it on 4th and 1. They get a false start. Now it's 4th and 6. They're going to punt. We take that punt, go down the field, score again. This is the stuff that you have to do to the Eagles. You have to score every time you touch the ball, and touchdowns. Put the pressure on. This team can't run the ball. We have an offensive line that, even without Armstead in it, with Bushrod, still Bushrod is an upgrade to what we had last year with Pete, and then you had oh shoot, I just drew a blank on his name.
Kelamite.
Yeah, Kelamite at guard with Bushrod in there, he is an upgrade to Pete at tackle because Pete's a better guard, and Pete is a much better guard than Clemente was. So, you're not having that big drop off. Um, the Eagles are hurt on the defensive line. They're beat up in that secondary. You have to go out there and attack, 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 put the pressure on that Eagles offense that can't run the football right now, and make them feel like they have to keep up with Drew Brees and this offense in the dome. And that's how you beat the Eagles. Um, it can't be one of those kind of 17 to 20 kind of games because the Eagles will come back and get out of that. You need to have the gas pedal down, score 35 points in the first half, choke the life out of those little bastards, and make them. If you look at the Bengals' face when they came out in the second half, they didn't want to go out there. They knew it was coming, and that's the mindset you need when a team is playing the Saints, especially in the dome. The mindset should have to be for the other team that here it comes. That buzzsaw is coming, and once Breeze gets that sucker cranked up and that crowd gets into it, that's our happy ass. We're just going to get annihilated in this stadium. Back the shit up, come back next week, and we'll see how we do next week with somebody else. But right now, in this stadium, against this offense, we're just going to get buzzsaw. And that's what you need. You need to put that fear of God into them and make them feel like no matter what defense they're in, what scheme they're in, what they do, it's the wrong defense. And I think you can do that. That defensive coordinator, the former shoot. I'm sorry. I've had three things going on. I'm arguing with an idiot right now, but I'm also
I resent that.
No. I have another idiot I argue with.
Oh, another idiot.
Yeah. Not you. Another idiot.
Well, we all have our roles.
No, it's just somebody who I get fed up with Madden players, and that's basically what I'm dealing with. Anyway,
well, I think
it was Jim.
One thing I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. No, I was going to say that the defense coordinator is Jim
Schwartz.
Jim Schwartz. Yeah, how could I forget that? Schwartz.
How
could I forget Schwartz?
Jim Schwartz.
Yeah. That the Eagles fans ready to run him out of town for his bad defenses, and we need to put that final nail in the coffin, get him fired, and get him out of there, and send him on his way because he doesn't blitz. He's gonna try and rush 4 and drop 7 in the coverage, and I think Kamara is going to exploit him. Malcolm Jenkins can't be everywhere because those cornerbacks are not a match for Michael Thomas. I know we signed Brandon Marshall and whatever, but I mean,
we're going to get to that momentarily.
Yeah, whatever. But the weapons we have, and we can run the football against this team too.
The thing that concerns me the most moving forward into this week is the fact that undeniably the Eagles are going to be desperate because they're at the precipice of falling into the cellar of their division, not to mention, I mean, they're running the risk of being a Super Bowl champion that doesn't even make the playoffs the following season. So that makes them desperate. And, Doug is a really talented coach. The job that he did.
Absolutely.
The job that he did a year ago was nothing short of phenomenal. I think that they've put too much on Carson Wentz, and they're expecting far too much out of him, and he wasn't prepared to embrace that role quite as well as his draft class counterpart, Goff.
Well,
and a lot of that is due to the fact that Wentz was missing for the balance of the season a year ago, whereas Goff played out until they laid an egg to some team, some insignificant team.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
No, no. Here's the thing with what's going on with the with Wentz. Aside from the fact that Wentz is coming back from an injury, the fact that the Eagles lost all their running backs. They lost LeGarrette Blount to free agency because LeGarrette Blount's a mercenary, basically. And Jay Ajayi blew out his knee. I mean, think about how much trouble the Rams would be in if Gurley was out. You know, Gurley had blown out his knee. Um, and they had to rely on other running backs. And then Goff. And Goff was coming back from a knee injury on his own himself.
yeah.
That's really what's happened to the Eagles' offense. Wentz is trying to get back into form, but not being able to run the ball makes it easier to defend the Eagles because there's no threat of a significant running game.
Well, I mean, New Orleans Saints fans have seen that in spades over the past those 3, 7, and 9 seasons that the Saints suffered through. I mean, how hard is it to defend Drew Brees when you know that he has nobody to turn around and hand the ball to? Pierre Thomas is aging, if he's even in the lineup due to injury.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, Pierre Thomas and Marcus Colston were aging. Darren Sproles, they were beginning to figure out what we did with him and what he could do for the Saints. It was it's hard because the defense was so bad and the offensive line was, in transition. We still were productive in 2013, 2014. Well, we got rid of Sproles in 2014. That was the beginning of the 79 seasons. But, it was just we were in transition on a lot of stuff. And that inconsistency is and then a lot of injuries too. When you don't have a lot of great players and the good players that you have get injured, it makes it so much harder to win. But yeah, that's kind of where the Eagles are right now. It's a little bit of a Super Bowl hangover, but a lot of it is due to injuries. And they lost 2 good coordinators to head coaching jobs, which is a good thing, but it's also a bad thing for the consistency. And I'll be honest with you, the Eagles, they really peaked in the playoffs. No one expected them to do what they did in the playoffs. Remember we said this? Well, no, I'm one who didn't, because remember we said this time, what was it? This time a year ago, Wentz was doing well. We all thought that was going to be a great thing. And then those last 2 games of the season, he got hurt against the Rams. And those last 2 or 3 games of the season, you had the offense was just abysmal.
Foles.
We had Nick Foles. I'm just saying the offense was abysmal under Nick Foles. And we even said, or I said, man, I wish the Saints could play in the Eagles side instead of the Minnesota Vikings side, because the Vikings are really scary because their defense was playing so well. And I said I wanted to play the Eagles because I thought that was the easier playoff route because of how bad they played at the end of the year. And then they caught fire. They embraced an underdog role. They all walked around with those dog masks. You remember that? And they got by the Falcons because the Falcons are going to Falcon. They just were. They made mistakes. They could have won that game, but made enough mistakes that the Eagles were able to win that game. Then the Eagles go and destroy Minnesota after they got out of there with that lucky-ass play. But, I'm not saying we would have beat the Eagles that year. I don't think we would have because I thought we were running on fumes by that point because we had so many injuries.
Yeah.
But
I agree completely.
I think we would have put up a better fight than what the Vikings did. The Vikings, they get to the NFC Championship game and, it's like they swallow too much food. It's the biggest choke job I've ever seen in my life. They've done it 5 times.
What's your plan for the NFC Championship game? I don't know. Bend over.
Yeah. No, just get the Heimlich. Just learn the Heimlich maneuver. Because they're going to choke.
But I wanted to ask you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Generally speaking, most Saints fans consider you have two schools of thought.
Mm-hmm.
Either, for obvious reasons, if you ask them what was the greatest Saints team ever, obviously a lot of people's minds are going to migrate towards the 2009 season because it resulted in the team's only Lombardi trophy
Yeah.
in their history. But you and I have talked about this at great length before, and the more superior team statistically ad nauseum was
Mm-hmm.
the 2011 team.
Yeah.
And then we have this team that we're looking at to this year. And one of the radio shows that I listened to here this afternoon kind of compared and contrasted the three teams. Statistically speaking, where does this, and I realize, and I preface this by saying we're jumping the gun here. We're halfway plus one games through this season, and I understand that, but this is basically a sports talk show, so uh, we talk about stuff, man. Um, in in comparison, in contrast to those two teams, where would you say that this 2018 team ranks among those teams?
Well, like you said, it's hard to do because the season's not over yet. The 2009 team, because they won the Super Bowl, will always be number one. I mean, it's just until another team wins, they will be number one. The 2011 team, and I've said this more than once, I thought it was more talented. We set more records on that team. Drew Brees threw for more yards. We had I think we were better on third down conversions. That team was so much more explosive than the 2009 team. But what the 2009 team had that no other team before or since had is the number of turnovers. Um, I had the statistic a second ago. Uh, I did. I had to close a window a minute ago. Um, where was it? Let's see. I'm gonna pull this up again. The turnover margin for the 2009 Saints, I want to say was like
plus 8, wasn't it?
No, it was higher than that. Let's see. That's offense, defense. We had 26 interceptions, 25 fumble recoveries. We threw Breeze through. Pull that other stat up. I'm sorry, guys. I had this up earlier and I just lost it a second. Breeze threw 11 interceptions. So what did I say? 26.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So we were plus 15 in just interceptions, and I think we had go back. We had 25 versus 18, so that's another 5, 6, yeah. So 6 and 11. So we were plus 21 on giveaway takeaway ratio in 2009. So, I mean, that was huge. I know we scored 9 defensive touchdowns, which we have not scored any defensive touchdowns yet this year. I mean, that's all the things that made that 2009 team so much, allowed them to win so many more games. And you think about, in the playoffs, okay, Cardinals game aside, because I don't think we got any. I think we got one turnover that we converted to a touchdown, but we didn't get a defensive touchdown. But we had the big interception by, by Tracy Porter, along with, I think the Vikings turned the ball over 8 times. We recovered like 4 of them in the NFC Championship game, and then of course the huge pick 6 in the Super Bowl. So that defined that 2009 team. So when you're looking at the statistics, 2019, the 17 and 18 and 11 teams are better statistically, offensively, than the 2009 team. But it's those defensive takeaways that made that 2009 team the championship team they were. And that's why the 2011 team did not win, because you think about that playoff game against the 49ers, you turned the ball over 5 times. And most games, you turn the ball over 5 times, you get blown out. So to me, that's where we have to get to the 2011 point. We're not there yet. Breeze is actually having a better year so far this year than he had in 2011, because in 2011, I have these stats right here. In 2011, he completed 71.2% of his passes. Well, he's completing almost 80% now. He's at 77.3. He threw for more yards, but he's only 0.1 yards per passing off his average. He was 7 yards a pass. I'm sorry. I'm looking at TD percentage. Sorry, guys. Let me focus on what I'm looking at. Yeah, actually, he's doing better than he did last year. He did 8.3 yards per pass play in 2011. He's doing 8.6 this year. So, and his interception obviously is the best in his entire career. It's just as far as yardage, he's not going at the pace he was going in 2011, because obviously we run the football a lot better than we did in 2011. And we were good at running the football, but not to the level we are with Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram this year.
I think if you're going to compare the two, and you and I have talked about this, and on the shows as well, people have asked me several times since 2009, what is the one player that without him, that Super Bowl run never would have happened? And I've never batted an eye. I've had absolutely no reservation whatsoever in saying number 42, Darren Sharper.
Oh yeah,
absolutely,
absolutely.
Lock him up, but I mean,
no, I mean,
you can say what you want to about where and what is right now, and I make absolutely no arguments about that. But my opinion of Darren Sharper in regards to the New Orleans Saints come from what he did on the field. And on the field, without his contributions, that Super Bowl run, I'm not going to say wouldn't have happened, but it would have been a lot less likely.
We just talked about, I just talked about the fact that you had all those turnovers. We were plus 21 in 2009. That was the best in Saints history. Darren Sharper was the main catalyst for a lot of those turnovers. You know, how many times do you see Sharper get his hands on it? How many times did he run he scored off of a turnover? You know, Detroit.
Well, I think it was like 3 times in the first 4 games.
Yeah, I mean that was the difference. That was the difference in that year. So that's what made that season special. And then, we were talking about this off air. What game was it that you realized that this team could be something really special and go somewhere? And we talked about this off the air, that 2011 in 2009, that week 11 matchup with the Patriots, when you kicked the crap out of the Patriots on national TV in the Dome. You took Tom Brady out of the game.
He gone.
Yeah. I mean, my favorite drive, my daughter's favorite play, of course, is the pass to Devery Henderson, which is wide open and he runs it in. That's just a great play. But my favorite sequence, honestly, is it begins the second half. Tom Brady, we get a fumble and then we fumble the ball right back to the Patriots. But they drive and they get back into the game. There's 4 touchdowns, and in 3 plays. The first play was a deep pass to Marcus Colston, was a catch and run. He got it all the way down to the red zone. The second play, I think, was a running play, and the third play was a touchdown pass to Darrellton, the third tight end. And we're right back up again by 21 or 24 points, whatever the hell it was at the time. I don't remember the score off the top of my head, but we're right back up with the lead again. The Patriots did all that to get back in the game, and in 3 plays, we have our score, we have our lead right back again. I mean, that was the game where you felt like this team's going to do something in the playoffs. Now, you just knew we beat a team with notoriety, we beat a team with a reputation, and this is our time. In 2011, it's hard to say. The closest I got to that feeling that we beat a team, that we were making a statement, was probably week 12 against the Giants when we kicked the crap. And of course, the Giants go on to win the Super Bowl, but we kicked the crap out of them on Monday Night Football, 49-24. And I'm like, okay, because we laid an egg against the Rams in St. Louis, and that was our last loss.
That was the night that Drew Brees' consecutive touchdown streak came to an end.
No,
wasn't it?
That was against the Falcons in 2012.
Okay.
Because in 2012, Sean Payton had to come in, got permission to come in and sit in the dome and watch Brees beat the Chargers, and he threw a touchdown pass to Devery Henderson. So that broke the record. But no, it was against the damn Falcons on Thursday Night Football. I think it was a 2012 season. That pissed me off.
Don't tell Josh.
Yeah, I know. Well, if he's watching, hey, Josh, anytime we lose to the Falcons pisses me off. So, I mean, but yeah.
To quote Major Payne, it makes my Agent Orange act up when we lose to the Falcons.
That's right. That's right. So, is the Rams the game that, it turns the season that we say, okay, this team could go somewhere? I don't know yet. Maybe this week against the Eagles, but it's not, the Eagles aren't quite what they were. We'll see. We'll see. We'll look back, see how the season plays out. Then we can look back and say, okay, what was the game? And it could very well be that Rams game. That was the game that, we served notice that we are ready to take over. It seems to be so far, but we have to see how this season plays out because we got to get past the divisional round. We've won wild card games. It's the divisional round has been getting us so far. And if we can get dome field advantage, the first, second seed, and we only played 2 games of the Super Bowl instead of 3, that's when we really know. That's when we can really stack up the statistics and say which team is the best team.
I don't know. I have this phobia of worrying about this prematurely, because if you take it for granted, then more oftentimes than not, you find yourself in a position of wishing it were rather than reminiscing about what it was. Uh, as far as I'm concerned, all that matters right now is beating the Eagles, beating the defending Super Bowl champions at home. Uh, and when that's over, the next game up is the Falcons on Thanksgiving night. Uh, and Dome Sweet Home, let's make it a Terror Dome. But I want to. While I'm thinking about it, my brain is like an etch a sketch. If I turn too fast, all the sand goes to one side, and I completely forget everything that I was concentrating on. So, um, anybody that is able and available, be in that Superdome Sunday afternoon to make
Absolutely.
it absolute living hell for the Philadelphia Eagles. There is no
Right.
fan base in the National Football League that is as avid, or depending on who you ask, it may be avid, but probably closer to the point to say rabid.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Either way, it's a decided advantage for the Saints when the Who Dat Nation shows up, and shows up in force, and shows up ready to show out. Uh, Everybody that is able and of able and available, be there, be loud, be proud, and let's keep this train rolling.
Yeah, absolutely. Because yeah, you've got two games coming up at home that we have to win at home. In 2009 and 2011, I'm sorry, in 2011, 2013, we were 8-0 at home. Now, obviously, we can't do that. We were 7-1. We were 7-1 in 2009 because of that Buccaneers game. No, I'm sorry, 6-2 at home because we lost to the Cowboys too at home. We can't have games like that this year. The Rams after the Chiefs have a pretty easy schedule, so we have to keep the gas pedal down. We have to keep winning. Um, if they don't lose, if the Rams beat the Chiefs, you know, we're only up by a tiebreaker right now. The Rams are technically a half a game up on us because they haven't had their bye yet. But we would have to win out and win by the tiebreaker right now to be the number one seed. And I don't want to sweat this out. I want that last Carolina game to be a meaningless Bridgewater fans get to watch Teddy Bridgewater play the whole game. I don't want that game to matter. I want Carolina, you know, maybe fighting for a wild card spot. But I'd rather, Drew Brees play a couple of series, win the record, whatever record he has left to win, and go sit on the bench. Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram can sit on the bench. Michael Thomas can sit on the bench, and we can just watch Teddy Bridgewater throw passes to Kirkwood, and Josh Hill and Dan Arnold and all the rest of those guys. And we rest up because we have a bye week, and we're going to host a playoff game, divisional round game in our place. That's what I want. I don't want to have to worry about, what the hell the Rams are doing.
Yeah.
So,
I don't think that we have really that much to. Everybody said after the Rams game that, oh, well, we're going to see this team. I don't really think so. I really don't. I don't think that the Rams are going to advance to the NFC Championship game. I really don't.
hey, the Vikings could beat them. That's I want the Vikings to be the wild card team. The Vikings have to play, go play the Rams in Los Angeles. We get the Bears or we get the Falcons or who? No, the Falcons aren't making the playoffs. Who am I fooling? Who am I kidding? You lost to the Browns. You're not going to the playoffs. That's the reality. You're not going anywhere. You're in the 7-9 pit of misery. I mean that's the reality. Once we kick your butt on Thanksgiving night, your season's over. You
Well,
know,
the saving grace for Atlanta Falcons fans is the fact that they can all stand up in their luxury boxes and go, "We're going to the Super Bowl." That's only because the Super Bowl is coming to you. It ain't
that's
because of
right.
anything you did.
Hey, hey, if things play out the way they're going to play out, and I think they will, let the Washington Redskins win the NFC East, the Bears win the NFC North, we win the NFC South, and the uh, over there in the West, the Rams win. The playoff teams are the Vikings and the Panthers. Um, the Panthers get to play the Redskins, and the Vikings play the Bears, and let it go out that way. I'm good with that. You know, um, and let the Vikings go to play. You know, uh, the Rams, and then we get the Panthers. In the divisional round, kick their butt because we let them win in week 17 because we put out of our starters, and then we just watch the Rams Vikings game to see who comes into the dome for their ass kicking. That's my idea of a good January. So I'm just letting you know.
Well, for whatever it's worth, the road to the Super Bowl has only gone through the Superdome once.
I know,
How did that turn out?
I know, and that's key. The way this team plays in that dome, and the crowd knowing the importance of this game. I went to it in 2009, the NFC Championship game in the dome, and I tell you what, you know, yes, the Gleason block was louder to me because I think it was more of an exhale, and I can't believe we're going when Hartley kicked that field goal. I think it'll be even louder and more wild this time. Every time the Saints score, because of the importance of the game, because of being that team and going to play in Atlanta, and hey, I hope we play the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I don't want to play the Patriots in the Super Bowl because
I do.
uh,
I do.
I don't. This is why. Because if we kick the crap out of the Patriots in the Super Bowl, or if we barely beat them, it won't be about Breeze. It'll be about, is this the end of the Tom Brady dynasty? Is what happened to Tom? Is age finally caught up to Tom? Um, is Belichick finally at his end? Does the Super Bowl loss hurt Tom Brady's legacy? Let's talk about Tom Brady. It's the Tom Brady Network, 24/7. I mean, that's how it's going to be. It's not. Oh yeah, the Saints won the Super Bowl. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They got two Super Bowl wins. Yeah, that's nice. So does Eli Manning. But we're not going to talk about that. I mean, that's basically how it is. So my attitude is kick their ass out of the playoffs and let them have that conversation about Tom Brady in the AFC Championship game. Is the dynasty over? Yeah, it's over now because Patrick Mahomes kicked your ass. And let the Saints and the Chiefs play, and let the AFL scoring fest begin because that's what it will be like. Defense optional in that game. You know,
Well, I think that obviously, I mean, we were contrasting the teams earlier. Um, I think that the 2018 team has decidedly more playmakers
mm-hmm.
with Breeze, Thomas, Kamara, Ingram, blah 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 blah. I think that it may be a lot closer than what some people would accept, but I think that the offensive line play is slightly better in 2018 than it was in 2009 or 2000.
What? Wait, Sean? Sean? Am I still on? You froze. You're frozen, Sean. Okay. Well, I don't know where you were going with that. Uh, I'll just kind of pick up a little bit where we left off. Anyway, we've gotten way ahead of ourselves. We're talking about Super Bowl, and we've still got a lot of season left to play. Basically, I think where Sean was going with this. Well, no, I'm not going to assume anything. I'm sorry, guys. Real quick, we were going to talk about this in the last segment anyway. Grading the first half of the season, the defense. We ran out of time last time because we had Bob on board. Real quick, grades on the defense. Defensive line, I was going to give them a C or a B minus, a C plus B minus earlier, but in these past 3 games, I'm tempted to give that a B plus A minus now because you've seen the rise of Davenport. You've seen Sheldon Rankins, who is just destroying people now. I mean, you watched the Vikings game. You watched the Cincinnati game. He is just throwing people into a black hole and killing them. Yeah, Sean just dropped off. I don't know why. So Rankins, the development, Davenport, I hope Davenport comes back soon with that toe injury. But Cam Jordan's not quite having the season he had last year, but he is still having an impact. And we've gotten really good against the run. I think Stallworth on the defensive line has really helped this team become better against the run. So the defensive line, I'm giving them a B plus A minus right now, based on the past 3 or 4 games compared to how they were playing at the beginning of the season when it seemed like they weren't getting much pressure on the quarterbacks. Linebackers, Demario Davis has been a great signing for this team. His speed, his instincts are much better. It's an upgrade. I think that's one of the reasons why Craig Robertson has not been on the field very much, because Davis can do everything that Robinson could do, but faster, and is a much better tackler. I think we're starting to see our linebackers grow up a bit. And I'm speaking specifically like Alex Anzalone. I think he is playing better over these past 3 weeks than he had at the beginning of the season. I'm going to give these guys a C plus right now. AJ Klein has had his moments. The only reason I'm not giving him a higher grade is I still think they struggle a bit. It's not a weakness, a glaring weakness. Weakness is still, unfortunately, in the secondary right now, where I think Lattimore is taking a step back. I think Marcus Williams has taken a step back. In a year, he was supposed to take a step forward. I think Coleman has been a disappointment as a signee. I think if they knew then what they knew now, Coleman probably isn't a guy they're going to spend a lot of money on. They probably don't sign him. I don't think he is a downgrade from Vaccaro. I think it's more of I think you gave up something for Coleman that you had with Vaccaro, but I don't think Vaccaro was worth what you paid either Coleman or what he was looking to make. So I understand they're not signing Vaccaro. They still need to replace that spot. I think Von Bell has quietly had a better season than he had last year, but not a great season. And I think, clearly Crawley has not had a good year. He's been supplanted now as a starter by Eli Apple. We made the trade for Eli Apple. Apple had his first interception. We mentioned that earlier. But is Apple going to be a real? He had a full off season in the system, but he is better than Crawley was playing. And PJ Williams, to get hot and cold with PJ Williams. He's going to give up pass plays. He's going to tackle the heck out of people, and he may be in the right place at the right time and make an interception or recover a fumble. That's what you get with PJ Williams. So secondary, I'm going to give them a C minus, D plus. I know that's probably too low for some people. Some people might even give them an F. I don't know. But the fact that we are the number 1 rush defense, but the number 31 pass defense really falls in that secondary. I think that secondary has been a weakness all year, even in a league where pass defense is pretty crappy. Our our pass defense is not good enough. We need to get turnovers. Um, and Sean just asked, what in the hell? Well, he didn't exactly say hell, but, uh, I'm still on the air. Where are you? Um, Sean's trying to get back in right now. So, anyway, that's how I would grade our defense. As a whole, as a unit, I'm giving them a C. They are playing better, but I think the strength so far has been our defensive line, and the linebackers are better, not great, but our weakness is the secondary, and I think it won't get any better. There's nobody out there who's going to fix this. Um, he's back. I just graded our defense. I don't know what happened to you. It's that cheap Wi-Fi you're on.
Yeah, well, you got to watch those damn Ram fans. They've infiltrated Northeast Louisiana, and
Well, I'll tell you honestly, you could probably go back and watch the video if you want to watch us. But
you
real
talked
quick,
bad about me, didn't you?
nah, I didn't give you bad. I didn't talk bad about you. I talked bad about you in front of your face.
That's true.
I gave the Saints defensive line a C minus. I'm sorry, C plus B minus, because
Yes.
based on what's happened in the past 4 games with Sheldon Rankins and Marcus Davenport.
Yes.
Both of those guys are coming on. Sheldon Rankins is really having an impact now. Cam Jordan's not playing as good as he played last year, but he's still playing at an all-pro level.
But he's not having to.
No, he's not, because we're seeing more development. I didn't even talk about Alex Okafor, but Alex Okafor is very quietly he's getting his reps. He's playing well enough. He has not been a problem. I think if Davenport was healthy, Davenport would have supplanted him by now. I gave our linebackers a C plus. I thought, obviously Demario Davis has been the best signing we've had. He's the strength of the linebackers. I thought Alex Anzalone is playing better. I thought, AJ Klein had his moments, but really, it's really Davis is the one that's really having the impact for us in the linebackers. They're no longer a weak spot. We still have problems covering people out of the linebacker position, but we're doing a great job stuffing the run. And I gave the lowest grade, a C minus D plus, to the secondary. I said Lattimore and Williams both have regressed from last year. They're not having the impact they had. I thought Von Bell was having a better year than he had last year, but I thought Coleman has been a drag in the secondary. And I thought Crawley, obviously getting benched, and we make the trade for Eli Apple, says a lot about Crawley. Eli Apple, we won't really know how to grade this trade until next year when we see how he does in a whole season with the Saints defense. He's learning on the fly. It's important he got the turnover, he got that interception, but he needs to make more plays. And PJ Williams, hot and cold. He's going to give up big plays and give up passes, but he also intercepts balls, is around fumbles, throws his body all over the place to make tackles. You got the number one ranked defense with the 31st ranked, number one rushing defense, 31 ranked pass defense. That gives you a C. If you average the grade, you get about a C. I'm going to give a C minus to the defense as a whole. So real quick, I just kind of summarized what you've already heard. What do you have to say, Sean?
I agree with what you said about the defensive line. As the season progresses, yes, they are improving drastically. If you look at the first quarter plus of the season, there was no significant pass rush to speak of. Recently, that's changed dramatically with, as you mentioned, Sheldon Rankins, David Onyemata, Cam Jordan, every game, Cam Jordan is batting down a pass. He's getting a sack. Sheldon Rankins is getting a sack. Davenport, though he's injured right now, he made a significant push uh, in the Vikings and the Rams game. The defensive line play is drastically improved night and day uh, from the beginning of the season to now. I would give them a favorable C plus B grade. Linebacker play. I think that Demario Davis has come in and done absolutely spectacularly. He has done everything that we brought him in here to do. Uh, what has been surprising thus far, and knock on wood, Alex Anzalone has stayed healthy and he has
Mhm.
become Thor. Uh,
Well, you
eh,
notice
eh,
they've moved him out to the middle linebacker spot. I don't
yeah,
know if you've been watching that, but yeah, I think that has helped him stay healthy by
yeah.
keeping the middle linebacker.
Uh, I think that the linebacker play has been drastically improved from, you know, looking at, I consider the defense in three levels: defensive line, linebackers, secondary. For the first two levels, drastically improved from the beginning of the season. The back end, not so much. Now, I will say that Eli Apple has shown significant growth from the first game, which, I mean, he was like a New Orleans Saint 5 minutes before his first game. He he showed up for the Cincinnati Bengals game. We're absolutely going to need him to show up more and to stand out more because at this point, right now, the secondary is absolutely a liability for this defense.
Mhm.
And I hate to say that, but as you alluded to, Lattimore is not playing on the same level that he was a year ago. Uh, Ken Crawley, which was some people considered to be the standout corner from a year ago, he's like MIA. He's been benched. He
Mhm.
regressed terribly. Uh, Safeties, Von Bell, yeah, he's growing in leaps and bounds. Marcus Williams, he got the game ball in Minnesota. He's played with a chip on his shoulder since January of a year ago. Excuse me. Um, but for this team to get to the promised land that it is absolutely striving for, the secondary play is going to have to be better and more consistent. If you look back over the past several games when we've played, I mean, it's almost as if this schedule was structured as such that we play somewhat contender and then uh, moderate contender and then major contender and then major contender and then the Cincinnati Bengals and then defending Super Bowl champ. As we've gone down through all of this, excuse me,
All right.
please. Yeah, well, it's some damn Rams fans again. Pause. As we've gone down through all of these, it seems that, of course, with Ingram coming back, each subgroup of both offense and defense has stepped up their game, which the championship teams are going to do that. They're going to rise to the occasion. They're going to elevate their game to the level that it needs to be. They're not going to play down to their competition. They're going to play at the level that they need to play and dare their opposition to join them on the same level if they're able. Uh, I think that this game Sunday is going to be And, like I said earlier, the Eagles are going to be desperate. They're trying to keep any hold whatsoever that they can on uh, the possibility that they're going to be able to defend their Super Bowl title. And at this point, I have to tell you that that is starting to look like a long shot. Uh, the NFC East is a boneyard. At the risk of offending, at the risk of offending people, the Washington Redskins have the lead because they suck less than the rest of them. But um, I, 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 I got all sidetracked there. I would give.
Well, no, I mean you're right. It's a dumpster fire. The NFC East. If we beat the Eagles Sunday, and I'm assuming we do, they're now 4-6. They're pretty
Yeah,
much out of the playoff race. Um, and we'll probably put the final nail in the coffin of the Falcons the following week on Thanksgiving. Excuse me, Thanksgiving night. So they're going to be out the playoff race.
yeah.
So you're talking now the Cowboys and the Redskins are battling for the division title. I know.
The Redskins are battling.
Yeah, yeah.
The,
So
the Cowboys are treading water, bud.
right, right. I'm just saying that somebody's got to win that. Um, so that's kind of where we are now. Granted, I believe the Eagles have a bunch of. I think all the NFC East divisional games at the end of the season. I'm not looking at the schedule right now, but I think a lot of matchups at the end of the season. So my point is with that. Once you've got, say, the Eagles at 4-6, the Giants obviously completely out of it. But if you got the Eagles at 4-6, staring at an 8-8 season, really the Redskins and the Cowboys because the Cowboys beat the Eagles Sunday night. Those are the two teams that seem to be battling to see who's going to be the survivor of the worst division in football. You know, so I think that's where you were going with that.
Well, I mean, the Giants can't even screw up right. I mean,
Yeah, they won last night in the Tank Bowl. So
uh, you know, if I'm one of the teams on the Giants' schedule after now, I'm breathing a sigh of relief because Eli Manning has hit that game where he came back and he won in the fourth quarter. Okay, he's done for the year. He's fulfilled his quota for this year.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and Eli, if he retires or he goes somewhere else like Jacksonville or someplace like that, so be it. But yeah, the Giants are that's a team that's in total rebuild mode right now. Just like the Raiders, and the 49ers to an extent. The 49ers season got torpedoed as soon as the quarterback went down. Hey, we're
Yeah.
up at 9:30 right now. We need to wrap this up. Um,
Oh yeah.
you didn't even pay the bills. You know that? We went straight. You went straight
Yes,
to
I
the.
did.
Oh, you did.
Yes,
Okay,
I did.
I thought you went straight into the Rams. Thing.
Before I went into my tirade about the Los Angeles Rams, I paid the
Okay,
bills.
I got you. I got you. Well, thank you guys for sticking with us, even though Sean wasn't able to stick with us very long.
Yeah,
He
well,
disappeared on us.
I'm part-time help.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when you're in a bunker. Um,
They hijacked my signal, man.
yeah, join us next week when we break down the Eagles' victory. Yeah, I'm being arrogant. I'm being confident, and
Oh, and by the way, we're going to have from
oh yeah,
we're
please.
going to have a special guest, Regina Ham, former Pro Football Spot journalist. Uh, Due to inequities in our scheduling department, she for PFS she covered the Philadelphia Eagles. She should have been scheduled for this week, but unfortunately, our scheduling department dropped the ball. That was me. She will be joining us next Tuesday night. and I'm looking forward to having her on. Anyway, and the following week, covering the Dallas Cowboys, we're going to have Colton Cathy, University of Central Florida, 2 years undefeated. He's going to be covering the Cowboys for us. Really looking forward to having him as well. Did I miss anything?
I think you've got everything.
Cool.
You've got everything.
Groovy.
All right. Thank you guys for sticking with us. I know we went way over time as always. I was actually getting ready to wrap up everything right when Sean vanished. Thank you again for sticking with us, and we'll see you next time on Under the Dome. Good night, everybody.